Get ready to enter the vortex. The Anal Retentive Housewife, starring Vandita. Today's episode is Pillow Talk.
And welcome to another episode of the Anal Retentive Housewife. As always, my name is Vandita and I'll be your host for this episode. Today's episode is called Pillow Talk, and we're going to talk about making little pillows that are decorative, while at the same time we're going to recycle some other pillows, and we're going to have a brief discussion about pillowcases. But first, I'd like to address an issue that's come up since I taped my last show. In a wonderful display of patriotism and support, people are buying the American flag and displaying it in unprecedented numbers. Due to this, when I tried to buy a flag on the web, I knew going to a store was not going to be very useful. I wanted to get the full-sized flag. Everybody was sold out. So what I had to do was get a little creative. Then I thought, oh, maybe I will buy a t-shirt. No t-shirts online either. So I had to resort to making my own. Let me show you my handiwork. So all you need to do is get an image of a flag from the web, get yourself some transfer paper, cut it out on the exact dimensions, press it down, and iron. If you don't cut on the exact dimensions, you'll get everything transferred, which is not what you want. Luckily, this was just an old t-shirt. I'm planning to get some new t-shirts to put this one on. So, and you can do this for, what, the price of a t-shirt, which is great. Okay, so we'll put this over here. And the other idea I have had, because I do actually have a flag, I just don't remember where it is. It's somewhere very, very safe though. Yeah, I ended up having to get a flag from my parents, which is kind of ridiculous considering how they're like foreign and they had like a couple of American flags. So I borrowed one of theirs, got a dowel rod, and put the flag up with two little medium-sized binder clips. Actually small binder clips. And they had an extra flag, so I could put that in my car, and I eventually ended up getting some stickers and put those on my car. I did have my old flags from when I displayed them on my car antenna during the Gulf War. I was one of the pioneers of that movement myself, because nobody had flags for their antennas back then. It was very controversial, and apparently there's some idiots in Berkeley who are protesting. I'm not sure exactly what they're protesting, but they were threatening to burn flags that were displayed on fire engine trucks and other fire vehicles. I don't know what they're thinking, but frankly, after having gone through some training with the Mountain View Fire Department and the police department also, but especially the fire department, they don't have a political agenda. Firemen are there to save your lives, anybody's life. They don't care who that person is. They will do their best and they will give their lives to save your sorry one, you protesters up in Berkeley. So I frown upon that kind of activity because they do so much. And I can just think of what happened on September 11th. And it's just unbelievable that somebody would feel the need to protest a flag on a fire truck. I don't really have anything else to say about that. It's just, to me, it's not right. And my deepest sympathies to the victims, their families, and anybody who is at all connected to this horrible, horrible thing. Now then, if you're going to make your own flag, first of all, I have two brand new pillowcases that are white, and they're the approximate dimensions of a flag. Now I'm not going to do this part today because it's actually quite difficult, but I'm just going to at least go through the steps. First of all, the dimensions of the flag are very important. You can download the ratios from the web. If you want to order a flag that's flown over the United States Capitol for a very small fee, which is basically $9.05 a flag, you can have it flown over the Capitol and mailed to you. Any size, nylon or cotton. This is a really good opportunity to get a flag for a very reasonable price. And, oh, here's my other transfer. Okay. And we can get the dimensions from this page, which says standard proportions for the United States flag. And these are just proportions that you can then use to calculate, which I haven't done the reverse calculations for my pillowcase size. But once I do that, then it's very simple to make the stripes. And since the background is white, what I'm actually going to need to do is I need to buy some red fabric and some blue fabric. And I'm going to use the back of the pillowcase as my base for the stars. Now, how do you make a 5-pointed star? George Washington had originally wanted a 6-pointed star, but Betsy Ross thought it might be better to have a 5-pointed star, and she showed that to George Washington. If you want to know how to make a 5-pointed star in one snip, go to the Betsy Ross homepage on the web, and I have printed this out for myself, but it's really quite an elegant solution if I don't say so myself. If you're going to buy a flag, buy one where the stripes have been sewn on and the stars have been embroidered on. To do less would not make it quite as authentic, I guess, and as real. So anyway, there's all kinds of fun information, like what do the colors mean, when and how the flag progressed from the 13 colonies in a circle, and how it moved forward, and why we have the colors we have, as opposed to, you know, I don't know, orange, green, and white. All that good stuff that you can find on the Betsy Ross homepage. The other thing is, let me see. Oh yes, if you want to desecrate your flag for whatever reason, you may go ahead and do so. Although I don't agree with that kind of behavior. However, I draw the line at somebody desecrating somebody else's flag. It goes to property rights. Anyway, so these are all here. This is the iron-on transfer instruction. You can get this for pretty much an inkjet printer or laser printer, you know, from any electronics store. So this is going to be something of a long-term project, so I kind of want to put it on hold. And I'm hoping that I'll find my flag that I have, that I bought, geez, at least 8 years ago. I've looked everywhere, but I have a lot of little storage nooks and crannies, so it'll take me a while, I guess. Okay. If you're interested in flag etiquette, there's a lot of sites on the web that can do that, and there's a lot of display dates. Oh, here we go. Color meanings. Red stands for hardiness and courage. White is a symbol of purity and innocence. Blue is the color of vigilance, perseverance, and justice. Never let your flag touch the ground. And if you display it on your car, it's wonderful that people have big flags or print out a flag. That's great. But ideally, it should be on the right as the flag is faced from the rider's seat, because that is the way the flag is displayed from the vehicle of the President of the United States. Speaking of which, I don't see anybody calling President Bush W anymore. I think he's more than proven himself, and I'm very glad I voted for him twice. Okay, now then, let's talk about pillowcases. Pillowcases have suddenly become elevated to some high art and are very, very expensive in the stores. My guideline is don't pay more than $10 for a pillowcase unless there's something really special about it. Like I have some pillowcases that were more than that, but only 2 because they're from Germany and they were made with a special fabric, particular to that region of Germany. And they were very pretty pillowcases. They also matched my color scheme in my living room. However, for the rest of the pillowcases, you can get something functional like this. I got this for $5. Very simple. You want to make sure it has a zipper in the back or buttons, because otherwise the pillow will fall out of the case. And the whole point is to protect the pillow, because you can wash the pillowcase relatively easily, but to wash the pillow is very difficult. To get it dried is even worse. And if you get it dry cleaned, it'll cost you $10 per stuffed pillow. I know because I've had to do that when the cat yacked on some of my pillows. So, let's see what I did here. This is one of my early examples, so I will admit that it's not the best example, but all I did was I cut a queen-size pillow. These are standard, by the way. That was old. See, it's got a little yellow. Yeah. But I didn't want to just like donate it or, you know, make my night deposit of the donation trucks. So I cut them in half, just with a good pair of scissors, and I used my sewing machine. Yes, I do sew. To just sew across the side. That works. Unfortunately, right now I have given both my sewing machines to a girlfriend so she can do some sewing. If you're using a sewing machine, make sure you double back on the end on both sides so that your seam stays in place. Okay, and you usually don't want to have frays. Like I said, this was one of my early attempts, and it wasn't perfect, but it's very functional, and it works. Okay. Now then, following my $10 rule, the pillow in this case, the pillowcase was $10 on sale after Christmas. I like the velvet because it's nice and you can since it's solid, but it's got like a little pattern to the, it's not textured, but there's a pattern. You can kind of layer this and do some color blocking to just make a nice presentation on your sofa. And on this one, I sewed this by hand, and you'll see the work is, I've progressed and gotten a lot better. If you're going to sew by hand, here's a couple of recommendations. First of all, it's easier if you have the needle pre-threaded. And I always pick up these sewing kits at the hotels when I used to travel. I guess I'm kind of running low, but they just give you the perfect amount of thread. It's already pre-threaded, and I always double stitch everything. So in other words, I don't have one part that like, well anyway, I double stitch. And I use more of an embroidery stitch by hand than anything else. I don't want to baste and go back later and then have to redo it. That's frankly a waste of time. And I've got pretty neat sewing, if I don't say so myself. And then you just sew it along, and that's all there is to it. Again, this is an older pillow, it got a little stained, but pillows are relatively inexpensive. There's no reason to buy pillow stuffing at a craft store because that becomes more expensive. It's a huge waste of time, and I've seen what they charge, and there's no reason for that when you can do yourself a favor by getting yourself a new pillow so you have better support for your neck and your head, and you know, it's cheaper. It's much more cost effective, and yet it is not cheap, as in it doesn't look cheap, I hope. So, and this one has a zipper. Okay, now this is a similar concept. Got this for 10 bucks. And in this, I had some larger pillows, throw pillows that my mother had given me. Red really just doesn't go with the rest of the colors in the living areas. It's a little garish. Yeah, it's just a little too ethnic. So anyway, I put that one in here. So we'll put these back. And you can kind of throw them and make them look casual, layer them. However you want to do it is really fine. And speaking of ethnic, I got some interesting ethnic pillowcases, and these were $10 a piece. And they have a zipper. In the olden days, ethnic pillowcases did not have zippers, and that's why I would not use them, because they just looked bad. They weren't neat enough for me. So now to demonstrate, again, just straight down. By the way, for handing scissors to somebody, like this, and get a good quality scissor. Don't, you know, get the 3 for $10 from your Finger Hut or something. But all you do, it's a little thick. Voila, look, it's the same stuff that you can buy in the craft store at less than half the price. Besides, if you go in the craft store, what's going to happen is you're going to end up buying a lot of stuff you don't need. This way it keeps you from actually spending money, because the less you go to the store, the less likely you are to spend money. So, I don't recommend doing this with down pillows. In fact, I don't do down pillows. Down pillows, first of all, I have allergies, and it looks like every other person in the Bay Area has allergies too. So if you have allergies, you don't want to sleep on a down pillow. Plus, it's kind of messy because all the little feathers, they come out and then like they're on the carpet, they're everywhere, they're in the air, and you're kind of like, you know, what was that? So it's a little uncomfortable. And I know they're supposed to fluff right back up, but they don't. And they're just way expensive. And I don't care if they get like, you know, 500 geese to, you know, to have enough feathers for one pillow. It's just not the same as the artificial stuff. Wow, it's taking a little longer than I thought just to cut through this. And this is one of those things you can do while you're watching TV. I know because I watch a lot of TV, and in fact, that's all I ever do is watch a lot of TV. So this is it's a perfect TV activity. You know, as you can probably tell, I'm kind of sedentary, and why move if you don't have to? I go to the gym to get my exercise. Okay. Alrighty, some of you guys are probably wondering why the updo, because it's like really hot and it's like October, and you know, I'm all for global warming and stuff, but yeah, I'm ready for it to cool down a little bit. And the camera, the lights make it really, really warm. That's why I always enjoy a refreshing beverage. Ah. Okay. Now then, to clip this, I don't really like to use pins because they fall out. I mean, look at this. It's pretty pretty stuffed, huh? What I do is I'll use safety pins, which of course I don't have any because I'm not entirely prepared. So, well, we'll just put this to the side for now. I'll demonstrate my threading technique. Yikes. You could break a nail getting one of these puppies out. And you can use whatever color thread you want, but I just like the white stuff. Here, see, the needle's pre-threaded and it's double threaded all the way down. What I'll do then is I'll put a couple of knots at the bottom, which you probably aren't going to be able to see. Sorry about that. This way you have additional protection against fraying. And I snip it off just at the end here. And this is a really good length because this will probably take me through half the pillow, because since I do more of an embroidery stitch on these. You can also use thread from one of these little guys because they also have just the right amount. And this way you're not wasting thread. It's just much more convenient. Okay, so now, as far as the order is concerned, it's all in how you want to do it. What do you think is practical? And you know, the other thing is, if you don't have time to do the sewing, which it looks like I'm going to be running out of time before the show is over, you can just put the pillow in the case and finish the rest up when you have a chance. I didn't do all these pillows in one sitting, that's for sure, and I've got at least a dozen that I've made. And they're all square. They're not European size, because if they're European size, that means you have to buy European shams. And the stores here charge way too much for European shams, like 40, 50 bucks or something, which doesn't make any sense to me. So that's why I stick to the regular size pillows. So we'll just prep this one up too. Also, I'm trying to standardize all the pillows, And these are the old style. There's a new style with like a subtle hint of stripes going across it, and those are much better. They make great advances in synthetic materials every year, so it's just incredible. Okay. Boy, it sure is thick here. Oh, if you're wondering where the cameraman is, he's been kind of busy, so that's why he's not here. Oh, and this same concept applies for neck pillows and everything else too. You do not need to buy the roll at the craft store. You can buy, you know, from the bargain bin, a couple of pillows, you know, from like, what is it, linens and things, or Strouds or whatever, and get a couple matched up. You can pay a good price for it, and you don't have to make it. So you want to be cost effective, but you don't want to be like so cost effective that you're not practical. Okay, and the other thought I just had while I was doing this was I probably just could have cut this outside part out and not cut through this at all. So I may have to rethink my pillow making strategy. Well, that's what happens. You go through several iterations, and eventually, each time you do it, it's a little better than the last time. So anyway, we're going to put these four aside for now. And I just want to say thanks for watching. I'm the Anal Retentive Housewife. And remember, it's not just a show, it's a way of life.